Yes, good morning to all of you. I will talk about a very special journey today, and it's a human journey. I've spent 90% of my life away from the ocean because I was scared of the water. So one day, about 7 years ago, I told myself, it's really too stupid. At least maybe I should try. And I decided to enter into that environment, started to swim in the ocean, then started to dive. And one day I decided to go and face my ultimate fear, that was the shark. And you know what? Actually, in one dive, the first encounter with sharks, I realized that I had spent close to 50 years of my life away from the ocean for a fear that was not a reality. And the day I was confronted, that I met my first shark, I got overwhelmed by a huge happiness because I was submerged by the perfection of this animal. They have evolved since more than 200 million years, and they are perfect for what they do and for the environment in which they move. You will tell me, what has it to do with the digital world? Actually, I've been thinking a lot about that the last days. And I realized that today we are impacted by images all the time. Images, images, images. We see a lot of things. All the people that try to sell us some things use images. But the experiences we make are not experiences in the reality. We have the representation of the reality in front of us. We don't do the true experience. And the happiness you get is not the same level. So I would like, I'm speaking to every one of you personally, and I want you to try to remember the last time you actually got overwhelmed and got this kind of tickling happiness. Every cell of your body is happy because you are in nature, you encounter an animal, or you have a beautiful landscape and you are deeply touched by what you see. And actually that's what has happened to me, and I want this journey to be for you an invitation not to forget that, and try to find an equilibrium between our very modern life with all the very fantastic tools we get, and actually the human dimension of our life that feeds our soul and keeps us happy. So once I started to enter in the world of sharks, I truly discovered that first, beside the fact that they were a perfect animal, that I had no clue about what they were. Actually, they come to visit you, they come to encounter you, but only because they are curious, not because they want to attack you or eat you. And little by little, I started to look at them with a different view and consider their beauty. And that beauty cured my fear, my initial fear, completely, because of their perfection. There is the power. Of course there is the power. We are in nature. In nature, everything is changing all the time. I mean, every moment is different, and the chain food is there, and death is omnipresent. It's there all the time. But everything is renewed constantly. The amount of intelligence that has been accumulated in all these pieces is just amazing. But what do we do with it today? We destroy it. And we don't realize that it took millions of years to accumulate this intelligence, not only in sharks, but in a lot of other species. And today we just spoil it in decades. And we try beside that to generate artificial intelligence. So maybe before working on artificial intelligence, we should consider saving and protecting the intelligence we have around us in nature, and a big part of it in the ocean. Of course, these pictures, they're impressive, but they're impressive only because we don't have the language, because we don't know what is their behavior. We don't know what is their motivation. Once we try to put ourselves in their shoes, to see how they function, to understand, suddenly, once we get their point of view, we realize that they are just there because they are another species, they belong to that environment, and they are legitimately there. We are not. We are invited, we are tolerated in their environment. And we normally don't look at them like that. Normally you see beautiful images of animals that live in the ocean with dolphins. But look at this. Look at this. They are just perfect. They are perfect in their shape, and they are perfect in the way they move. Look at this. A whale shark that is feeding on plankton during the night. It's just like if he's feeding on light. And you have millions of examples of that beauty every day down there. So once I could overcome that fear and push the limits, I started to accept to be closer in their environment and to interact with them. And I got a couple of amazing situations with very impressive sharks. And I realized that these sharks, they also have personalities. Some of them are sociable. They have a social ability to interact with you. Some are players. And only very few of them are only dominant animals, dominant predators that try to set their territory. You see that we don't have anything to protect ourselves but our hands. That's a great white shark, more than 5 meters, 1.5 tons. And it was one of the coolest sharks we met in more than 1,200 hours in the water with them. On the other hand, that was one of the mistakes we did. You see something hanging there on that's a tuna head. And we took what? A fresh tuna head. That was one mistake. The second one, I had a flu that day, and we were shooting a movie, so they asked me to go in the water anyway, which was another mistake. So I accumulated 2 mistakes. What is the shark doing? He's regulating the populations. So he takes the weak ones. And that day I was the weak one, so he was legitimately there to take me. He could have taken the tuna head. He didn't. He came straight to me, tried to push me, and tried to get me out of the landscape. Another example, extremely different, this shark came to me because I laid down, because I wanted to put myself at this level, and immediately got the point. And he started to cruise and came face to face to me. And he wanted to experience that encounter as much as I wanted to experience it. And he ended up with his head in my hands. And this kind of interspecies communication is something that we don't expect with sharks. We expect it with a number of other species. This is my partner, Lena. She entered into that world knowing the whales and the dolphins, and I invited her to meet my sharks. And the first day, she was very careful and very distant. The second day, she took off the wetsuit. I couldn't get her out of the water. She was playing with them all day long. So this is an image that expresses another aspect that is important in our lives. With nature, what do? We try to establish a power relation. We want to dominate nature and control it. And it's exactly what doesn't work anymore, because nature is absolutely exhausted. We have to just respect the differences in intelligences and create another way of interacting and create bridges between species. And that's the only way for us to safeguard that huge amount of intelligence in the ocean and interact with it. I took this as a symbol. I will speak for a few minutes about a very personal adventure that took place after I met my partner, Lena. What is a true encounter? Is when you have a true recognition from the other species. I mean, it's not running after an animal. You are there, the animal recognizes you are there. Look at this situation. The dolphin is turning and say, hey, what are you doing with that fin? It's a dolphin tail, not a human tail. But he's very interesting. He shows interest and starts dancing with her. So we built a form of communication. The whales, they were playing around us. That's a baby whale. These, they were whistling, trying to enter in communication with us. I had no clue what they were saying, but they were speaking to us with their whistling. Then dolphins, here is typically an image that baby dolphin is inviting us to dive with them, just to play. And that's a very important part of the interactions with the underwater world, is that many species, they are very playful. And if you don't play with them, they are totally disinterested in your presence. They will look for another partner to play with. So we got an amazing surprise. We discovered that Lena was pregnant. So we told ourselves, what gift do we want to give? What do we want to give to our child? She comes from 10 years in the water every day with dolphins and whales. I've spent a few years with sharks. So we decided that we would like that child to be already in touch with the ocean before it was born. And the last 4 months and a half of the pregnancy, we have been free diving with dolphins, whales, and sperm whales. And the sperm whales and the dolphin were communicating with the baby in the womb. And we know through scientists that it impacts the emotional development of the child. So you end up, you see there Lena, she's about six months pregnant already and totally accepted by the whales that come so close to us. And sharing you will see what happened. Lena is there to the left. The whale stopped and started to nurse. It's just like if there was a kind of a complicity in that maternity process, a kind of recognition of the universal dimension of giving birth and how heavy it is, how difficult it is to transmit from one generation to the other. We came across collective intelligence. And there again, what did we face? They don't talk to each other, but they have harmonious reactions. And we never know who decides. But every motion is coordinated instantly from the first to the last fish. And if this is not communication, what is it? So this sperm whale came and started to impact the baby in the womb during 4 minutes, standing in less than a meter from Lena and clicking and clicking. Lena could feel it here. So what impact will it have on our child? I don't know. But I do it fast because time is running. When Lena gave birth, that's just 1 week before delivery, Lena and the dolphin are playing with the leaf. They share the leaf. Lena takes the leaf and the dolphin takes the leaf on the fins, and they play again and again and again. That was, a few days before the birth. So when the baby is born, we waited only 2-3 months before we tried to make the first immersions with the baby. Why do that? Only because of one essential reason, to safeguard the respiratory reflex. That every one of us, when we are born, we have that. We came with it. But if we don't practice it, after 6 months, the baby lost it. So that's what we did with the baby, on a regular basis, in a swimming pool. And then, when she was 9 months, could you please send the short video, the second one, please? We started to immerse the baby. And you will see how natural it is for a child to be in the ocean. That was in September last year. And look at that. She's in the float. Dolphins came to visit her. We even went one step further. As she was falling asleep on the float, we decided to leave her alone and take some distance to see how dolphins would react. And they immediately, mothers and babies, came closer, just like to protect the baby. And they took us back to the shore to be sure the baby was safe. What is it if it is not communication, interspecies communication? That was, in September, the first deeper immersion with her. And you see how relaxed she is underwater. You would say, the baby has it, we'll keep it. We did a real mistake. We came back in September. I had to work hard for exhibitions, conferences, and so on. And we neglected the immersions of our little baby. And 1 month ago, we took her to the swimming pool, took her in front of us and say, hey, 1, 2, 3. No reaction. She lost the respiratory reflex. So what I want to say is that with what we do, the projects we have, to take her along with us, to see really what has been the impact in the womb and how it has impacted her emotional development and how she will interact with these animals. It's a constant, unknown process, and nothing is ever granted. We have to be sure we are there over and over again, and we have to create a space-time that is broad enough for the miracles to happen. So this is the main project for the coming 5 years, plus 2 other projects on interspecies communication, and hopefully bring back an explanation on other forms of intelligences, and mostly make you experience and reconsider, experience something different and reconsider your priorities. This is real experience. You didn't do it, but we did it, and you could do it. I was scared of water less than 7 years ago, scared of sharks, but it was only a projection. So please, in your life, if you have the opportunity, I invite you to push your limits and look behind your fears. Thank you.